After David's death, his son Solomon took over. Now, Solomon's reign was relatively peaceful and marked by a period of architectural expansion and growth. His greatest achievement was the temple he built in Jerusalem, a wonder of the ancient world. But because Solomon began to worship pagan gods, the Lord judged Israel. After Solomon had died in about 922 BC, civil war broke out in Israel, and the kingdom split in two. Most of the tribes formed the northern kingdom of Israel. Some, however, formed the southern kingdom of Judah, with its capital at Jerusalem. The northern kingdom of Israel was a larger and more prosperous of the two, but according to the Bible, its kings were a pretty bad bunch, leading their nation into idolatry and other wicked behaviors. They included people like Jeroboam I, who set up calf idols in his temples, and like Ahab, who married the pagan priestess Jezebel. The best efforts of prophets like Elijah and Hosea and Amos couldn't turn the people away from their wicked behavior. And so, in 722 or 21 BC, God decided that it was time to judge Israel because of its evil. God brought the Assyrians down from Mesopotamia. This violent, ruthless people conquered an empire that stretched all the way from Babylon on down into Egypt, and included, of course, the kingdoms of Israel and Judah. Well, Israel rebelled against the Assyrian Empire, and the Assyrians responded with great speed and with severity. The people of Israel were carried off as captives, taken into exile. The land was repopulated with foreigners, but the kingdom of Israel was no more. The situation with the southern kingdom, Judah, was a little different. Its kings were a mixed bag. There were some good kings down there like Jehoshaphat and Hezekiah, and also some bad kings like Ahaziah and Jehoahaz. The Bible uses one main criterion to evaluate the reigns of these kings. Good kings are kings that lead the people to be faithful to the Lord. Bad kings promote idolatry. One king, a fellow named Manasseh, was so wicked that God pledged to judge Judah with exile, just as he had done to the kingdom of Israel. It took several decades and several steps for that prophecy to be fulfilled. First, in 609 BC, King Josiah, the good king of Judah, was killed in battle against the Egyptians. The Egyptians placed Jehoiakim upon the throne. The king of Judah was forced to swear allegiance to his new Egyptian overlord. But that was only the beginning. Just a few years later, in 605 BC, the Egyptians were driven back into their own land by the Babylonians, and the people of Judah found themselves with new foreign overlords. Now they were under the heel of Nebuchadnezzar the Great, king of Babylon. Now, King Nebuchadnezzar was not a cruel overlord as tyrants go, but even so, the people of Judah chafed under his domination. In 597 BC, they revolted against the king of Babylon. The king of Judah was expecting reinforcements from Egypt, but they never materialized, and Babylon quickly quelled the revolt. King Jehoiakim was killed, and his son and many other leading citizens of Judah were taken up as hostages to Babylon to discourage any further revolts. But Judah had not learned its lesson. In 588 or 87 BC, Jehoiakim's replacement, King Zedekiah, once again rebelled against the Babylonians. This time, King Nebuchadnezzar was not inclined to be merciful. His armies marched forth and lay siege to Jerusalem, and soon the great gates gave way. The Temple of Solomon and the palace and the city walls were destroyed, and many of the people were taken away as captives to Babylon in what has become known as the Babylonian exile. It was one of the saddest and yet most creative periods in Judah's history. So the northern kingdom, Israel, is no more. Its people are scattered. The southern kingdom, Judah, is a captive nation. Many of its people are living far away in the land of Babylon. Is that the end of the story of the people of God, the children of Abraham? Not yet. In 539 BC, the Persians conquered the Babylonian Empire and added it to their own kingdom. Their great king, Cyrus the Great, issued a decree allowing all the captives of Babylon to return home. The Jews were allowed to go back to Jerusalem and rebuild their city and rebuild their temple. In 515 BC, that great feat was accomplished. A new temple was built, and the Second Temple period had begun. And yet the land of Judah was not like it was in the old days. First of all, it was much smaller. There were far fewer people living there than there had been in the days of the empires of the kings. Second of all, they no longer had kings. They were now administered by governors, people like Ezra and Nehemiah. Also, surrounded by the pagans on every side and with pagan overlords, the threat of persecution loomed large over their heads all the time. But even so, it was a prosperous time for the Jews as they continued to spread out throughout the kingdom. Humbled and strengthened by adversity, they seemed more committed to the exclusive worship of the Lord than at any time in their history. The Jewish spirit remained strong, and hope continued to burn in their hearts. Their prophets had promised that one day God would restore their nation and reestablish the dynasty of King David. They had no certainty about how or when that would occur, but many of the Jews continued to trust that the final chapter of their national epic had still not yet been written.